special day. I'm excited about it. My name is Stu Turley, president of Sandstone, and we have a fabulous guest today, Ryan Ray. He is the podcast aficionado. He is a ex-presidential candidate, and I mean, this man has some great things going on. Welcome, Ryan. How are you?
Stu, I'm a little bit exalted. Why do you presume I won't run again in 2024? I mean, listen.
I got nothing.
Right. I am a perpetual presidential candidate. Okay. So let's work on that intro just a little bit. I'll have my people with your people. But yeah, former is not, I am running in 2024. I will announce it right here on the Energy News Beat. I am running in 2024. So there you go.
Okay. And this is our regular China update, Ryan, for every month. You and I have this. You're so gracious of your time because you're a China expert. And
now we're definitely lying.
Well, I just want to bring up our listeners in case they missed both of our listeners in case they missed the other one, and that is, we had fun at your expense with fracking a whale. Mm-hmm. You could not sell. Your Texas accent is cool. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, you decided to be the head of the CCP, and Taco Tuesday was going to be all in. We're all in on that.
That's right. That's right.
And producer Mike came up with me being the Secretary of Defense. Mm-hmm. And he was going to be the Secretary of Media. So then we had you have a great live show every day with Ben, and it's running off the rails.
Mornings off the rails, yeah.
Mornings off the rails. I'll tell you what, you guys are a hoot. And I'm going to tease you again. You took down Dallas on the power on ERCOT. I am not kidding you. I'm sitting there watching you, and I'm impressed. Your stand-up desk is cool.
Yeah,
I'm jealous. I got to go get one. When you hit, hey, watch this. Music's playing. I'm jamming. I mean, I'm like, I got Ryan Ray on my drugs going on here. The desk comes up, and what happens? You freeze. And so your internet comes down, warnings on ERCOT, they have no power. It starts a brownout in half of Texas because your power in your office is just going nuts.
I don't apologize. First off, ERCOT should know that I'm a regularly producing content, so they need to have the grid ready for my schedule. So I can't apologize for that. Yeah. Second off, this desk is made from 100% recycled Coca-Cola cans. And so it is eco-friendly, it's green-friendly, it's blue-friendly, it's friendly. And so the fact that it takes such a drain on the grid, I can't help it. It's eco-friendly.
But it sounds like it would be a Tesla battery. And so it could, when it starts fire, it's going to keep burning, baby.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. The whole neighborhood's going if this thing catches. Okay.
So instead of drill, baby, drill, you got burn, baby, burn.
That's exactly right.
Anyway, well,
hold on. We're getting the show. I got to give you big kudos.
What's that?
You have brought me on, I think this is second or third time. And so I really appreciate that. Yeah. Especially when you're landing guests like George Friedman, because he came on the week after I did. And I'm like, well, I won't be getting a call back. So congratulations. That's a huge grab and a great guest.
Oh, he is phenomenal. We've had on everything else about 6,000 views on that one. And I know that's not much for you. I know that's nothing, but that was my second interview with him. And I thoroughly enjoy him. In fact, he and I are going to go to Austin and have he said the barbecue's ready. I'll invite you. Yeah. And you and I can go have barbecue with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I bought his book, European Flashpoints. And I thought at one time about asking him on. I thought, no, there's no way I'll ever get a guest like that. And so maybe I need to say, hey, they brought you in after they brought me in, so you should come on my show. Maybe I should use that logic to get him on. That's my best shot.
Okay. I know people.
You know everyone.
Yeah, but you had Ted Cruz. I'm worthless.
Well,
I am worthless compared to the almighty great Ryan Ray.
No, come on now. Come on.
Okay. All right. I know both of my fans are absolutely bored out of their mind right now. So, with all the things that are going on with China, Bloomberg yesterday put out two absolutely hilarious problems with China. And since I know you're the China expert, one of them, oh, hey, you know more than I do. I steal all your material. That's what normally happens
okay.
between you
when
and
you
I.
say that, you're stealing my line. That is the truest form of stealing. That's my line about you. So people don't realize when you say that, that is like to the core stealing my material.
That we can't get away from anything on this. Okay. First article was what's happening with Tesla in China. Tesla's had the whole honeymoon and all of that kind of stuff. And they've run into some serious problems over the bit with the batteries blowed up, as we say in Texas. I can say that because I'm sitting here in Texas. So they blowed up.
They blowed up.
And what I don't understand is they had a protester stand up on a Tesla and the CCP let it go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. Normally they shut all that kind of stuff down. And so do you think it was a political move for them saying we've lost the love with Tesla to let them go, hey, there's a protester standing on a car and they let it go out? I don't get that one.
I mean, so if you go back month, 2 months ago, China dropped this bomb and they're like, Tesla's, we're really concerned about Tesla's spying on our government officials and military officials who drive their cars. And it was a very, very shrewd move.
Yes.
Because if you are sitting there in America, you're like, wait, China's worried about spying. Hold on. What's going on here? I didn't know about this. Wait, are they spying on me too? Because China, like in spying, go hand in hand, right?
I'm turning my phones off so my app doesn't record us.
Exactly. So I thought China, that was kind of, I don't know if that was the first card they played because you had the whole car catching on fire incident as well. But the pushback on China towards Tesla has been something to watch. And I think it's interesting because Elon Musk, if you just kind of followed him during COVID, what he said was, he got all over California for shutting down and he wanted to open back up, arrest me, not them. Let me tell you something, brother. That talk ain't going to work in China. That ain't going to work. And so it's funny to watch these men who have this big bravado. To be clear, I'm not saying he should or shouldn't criticize China. I'm saying at the end of the day, just follow him. And he won't criticize China because two things. One, he has, to my knowledge, it could be wrong, but I think last time I looked, the only car plant in China that's wholly owned by a foreign company, right? So
I believe you're right. There's 4 others or 3 others that are there, but they're partially owned
by China, right? So he has that going for him, and to lose that would be a big blow, right? Another thing is he's dependent on the Chinese for their rare earth minerals for their batteries. So he is really, and I'm not now. To be clear, Elon might love him, he might hate him. I have no idea what he's thinking. I'm just saying that the money behind what he's doing has to at least question some of the things he says and does. And if you look at his stance on crypto, it's like, does he really have a belief in crypto? Are the Chinese pushing back on him? And to think that doesn't happen from the American standpoint would be naive. They definitely push back on our CEOs and executives in other industries. So is he susceptible to CCP pressure? Is a question that his investors should be asking.
Okay, I had an epiphany, which is rare. Okay, what? Oh yeah, you just gave me the body language. Like, yeah, you're an idiot. I saw that. The eyebrows go up, and it's the Ryan Ray. Yeah, it's true.
I was agreeing with you, Stu. Do we disagree?
Okay, no, absolutely not. Okay, here's the thing. Why did Elon go ahead and create rockets so he can get out in the outer space to mine all the asteroids for rare earth? The man's brilliant. Mining asteroids to get away from China.
Okay. No, I tell you, I am the fuddy-duddy on the rocket stuff. Well, I'll put my tinfoil hat on here. It's a large one because I got a big melon. I think that most of the rocket stuff is just propaganda and tax write-offs. I mean, I really do.
Oh.
Unless you're putting satellites in low orbit. Beyond that, how many people can reasonably afford to fly around the Earth in a private vehicle? Not many, right?
No,
Right.
less than the 1%. It's probably the 0.009%.
Exactly. So it's not like that's a long-term business model. We can barely get flights that are affordable. Okay, you're not going to leave the atmosphere that's affordable. So there is no business there. Let's be clear. There is no business. Not today, not tomorrow, not anyone's lifetime. That's not a business. So then you say, "Well, go to Mars." Okay, well, unless the government's just going to fund you perpetually, there's no business in going to Mars. So all of this stuff is really just a way to leech money from the government to fund things that never actually work. Now, listen, he's got the flipping rocket that lands on the port and all that stuff. That's really cool. That's cool technology. And it shows you that the private market can out-innovate the government sector. But at the end of the day, there's no money to be made here. This is strictly the government just passing over hundreds of millions or billions of dollars to these companies for nothing. There is no ROI on any of this.
Right. Well, unless he's using if China is using him to launch spy satellites for Yahweh, I think that it's a good business model.
Well, okay. Now that's so. He's, I don't know, is he a naturalized citizen in the U.S. because he's from South Africa? I don't know if he's a full-blown citizen or not. I don't know.
I don't know.
When you talk about the satellite business, that's one of the businesses that China cannot invest in the U.S. It's very much a yeah. So you start getting to that realm. There's definitely monies that can't change hands, and so we were looking at. There's a group that I know that has these low orbit satellites. And they're looking for a seed fund, round 3 or whatever. Anyways, and I said, hey, there's a lot of China money looking to come in. They said, no, we can't even come close to touching that. So he can't. I don't think they would let him do that. That would be a bridge too far, if you will.
Well, there's one way around it, and that is the Chinese seem to be stealing all of our other technology. So maybe he gives them the technology after he proves it here. And then he gives it to him in order to keep his batteries.
That won't go well.
No,
that won't go well for him.
All right. In this Bloomberg article, there's one other thing that I was really kind of funny. It says there's new regulatory issues coming. Mm-hmm. As the next commander of the CCP.
You're trying to get kicked off the Bush-China Foundation.
Yeah. How in the world are they going to even have regulations over there? They have, child labor working in the mines. I mean, I thought that was kind of funny in that article.
Well, okay, right. So think about it like this. When Americans think of regulation, we kind of have this box in which we live in. We say, well, when you've got child labor going on down there, there's no regulation. Well, it's just different regulation, right? And so they have top-down, communist, socialist, whatever you call them, regulatory matters. So if you want to go move to China and become a citizen, good luck. Well, that's a regulation, right? If you want to invest in China, there's certain rules that you have to abide by. So if you don't, so their regulatory business is just different than ours. And so, the other thing is that, and I think this was back in April or May of this year, or maybe March. Anyways, the Tesla is struggling to compete with most Chinese consumers. So what is the long-term viability of Tesla in the Chinese market? I think is something that we have to follow as well. And if there's a regulatory, crackdown on them, make it more expensive, then you're in trouble. Tesla's still here, so.
There's a couple of articles saying that the competition for the EVs over there is really growing. So, I mean, Tesla may not have the only pony in the game then.
Right. My understanding is that Tesla has the best EV in China, but as far as competitive people that, they're buying rural ones, they don't drive very far, but they're so much cheaper. They don't got to drive as far. So they don't need a Tesla. They don't need it. And so they're not going to buy it. And that's the other thing is that the Chinese consumer is not the U.S. consumer. So they're a lot more frugal, typically speaking. And so they will, the upper class is pretty lavish, but the middle class, which is, trying to get along, they're not going to go out and buy a Tesla just because they can't, just because it's cool. So,
wow. That kind of brings up the second Bloomberg article yesterday, which was a small video. And who was it that did that song? You Can Rule the World. I'm hearing it in my head. Anyway, when will China rule the world? And it was kind of interesting. You and I talked just a hair. You've talked about it on some of your other shows, other podcasts with, I don't know if it was Dr. Energy. She is a class act, but you guys do so great with that. The Dr. Energy show, you guys anybody needs to see that. That'll be in the show notes, how to watch that one. She is great on her knowledge as well, too.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. That's why she's the
oh, yeah. It leaves me out.
Yeah, too.
Shoot.
Yeah.
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 I can barely. Never mind. Okay. So in 10 years, they were talking about, can China meet the U.S. economy? And I have two thoughts on that. One, if China does end up growing and the U.S. tanks, I think that it might have a chance. Now, I thought the demographics in this were absolutely amazing, that their population base is getting incredibly older. There's fewer workers, and it's very much like the US. That's why they're encouraging babies, but they can't have babies because the middle class and lower class cannot afford babies because everything is so high. And they're going to increase the retirement age.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan, everything in that article is like the same thing in the US. So,
sorry.
Go ahead. Tell me.
Well, let's address the demographic thing.
Okay.
And this is kind of a Western construct that we need to think about, is you can limit the amount of children people have because they were having forced abortions and stuff like that.
Right.
You cannot research this. You cannot just say have more kids and people will have more kids. That is a cultural thing. That is a familial thing. That is something that's either embedded into your people or it's not. So lifting the one child policy to 3-child policy, you might see people who go from 1 to 2. But to go to 3, they probably be higher than 3, but to go to 3 is quite unlikely just from the cultural mindset. Now we have 4 kids. Me and my wife have 4 kids. We tell most people that, they're like, oh my goodness, how do you deal with it? Right. Because that's a cultural mindset. Very few people go, oh, cool. They go, oh, wow, 4 kids. How do you, and so it's now the circles that we run in, a lot of people have a lot of kids. So for us, it's all common. But outside of that, in the US, it's viewed as, woo, what were you thinking? Can you buy a TV? And so I don't think when you go to China, lifting the policy is going to put 3 children in each family. Some it might, but not over. So the demographic problem is there. To your point, raising the retirement and stuff like that, those are all problems. I suspect, and this is I've been on the record on this for some time, and so we'll see. My read of what China is doing, if you go back to 2000, we said if you go to China and you open up, they will open up with this. That seemed to be the direction that they were heading on some level until Xi Jinping took over in 2012. Now, maybe at the speed we wanted, but they were heading that direction. Now, again, this is just my read. We'll see. My read is that the CCP was a little bit concerned at the speed in which this was going. Right? It was going a little bit faster than what they wanted.
Oh,
the Western perspective, it's pretty slow, but from a ruling party, it's a ruling party. Think about it like that. It's not, like we have. It's a one ruling party. From their perspective, going too fast. So you bring in Xi Jinping. Now he's going to crack down. He's going to rule with a quote iron fist, and he pushes this forward. I think if you were to get the CCP top brass in a room and get them to be honest, they would all admit it's too late. It's too late for them. The cat's out the bag. All they're trying to do is contain it. Now, a lot of China commentators do not agree with me on this, but I'll give you 2 to 3 examples outside of China to make my case.
Okay.
First one, the Saudis last year, I believe it was, they changed their policy on minors with getting penalized. I can't remember exactly what the penalty was. It was jail or beatings, whips or whatever.
Minors as in kids or minors as in digging?
Yes, okay. 17, 18 and younger. Thank you. They changed their policy on how they were.
That was like fracking a whale. I didn't know if it was.
Yes, I can't speak either.
Neither can I.
So,
Sorry.
they changed their policy on how they were handling corporate punishment for minors for whatever crime it was. This happened at the same time that they rolled out the first ever VAT tax in the history of Saudi Arabia. Okay. Those two things are related. Now, most commentators are like, look at this and look at this. Like, no. The Saudis understand that their population has to stay content. So if you're about to drop a VAT on everyone, you better give them something back. Right?
Right.
Okay. So that's one example. So you have to think in terms of governments who run from top down and they want to make sure they keep people under their thumb. The opposite end of that is the North Koreans. The North Koreans do not open up ever. Why? Because the North Koreans know. They know what happens if they open up. What happens? It's over. It's over. Right? If they let Twitter into North Korea, it's over. The game's over. And so so China finds itself trying to slow down this progression towards and I'm not saying Chinese people want American style democracy. I'm saying that the Chinese government is trying to slow down wherever it is that they're heading because they want to stay power. So you look at Hong Kong, you look at Taiwan, look at these other issues. What they're doing is they're creating external enemies. They're raising the tension up so that the people out of China feel like they need the CCP. I don't think that the CCP actually thinks that 100 years from now, China will look like it will today. And furthermore, I don't think that 100 years from now, communism globally will have any real function because I'll stop rambling.
I love it.
In 1960, to pick a year, whatever was going on in Africa, Saudi Arabia, China, you could not find out about it unless the local news sent to the AP and the AP sent it out and your local paper decided to cover it. You didn't know. Today, you know. And that the amount of pressure that we're seeing globally on governments is unbelievable. It's hard for us to contemplate this. But if you were to take someone who was, split the difference between me and you, you're 37, I'm 36, so 36 and a half, who's 36 and a half from 1960, bring to today, they'd go, oh my goodness, wow, this is what's going on here? And I'll wrap it up. 5 point. Go watch, I'm sorry, I'm on a roll, dude.
You're going, go.
When you go watch the 30 for 30 on O.J. Simpson, what does it start off with? It starts off with Rodney King and the police brutality in L.A. against the African-American community.
Right.
Who knew about that outside of L.A.? No one. Right? But today, what happens? If there's a cop shooting, there's a video. Whether you think it's justified or not, there's videos. So what happened in the 60s in our own country?
Right.
Hard to get away with today because there's so many ways to expose it. So I think that all this, the socialism is one thing, the heavy communism, totalitarianism, it's really in the death throes because they just can't keep people under wraps anymore. And I'm sorry for the long-winded rant there.
No, that made a lot of sense, Ryan, and I do appreciate that. And holy smokes. And now I will just give you a little bit of feedback since I'm older than dirt. And
you're 37. I just said I'm 36.
I'll give you a hug later, dude. When we go have lunch, barbecue with Dr. Freeman.
There we go.
Okay. My dad was in Vietnam, and I hated Vietnam from the standpoint that it was the first war that was actually on TV, but we could not find out what was going on with my dad. So when he was flying missions and getting shot at in Vietnam, we would hear that an F-4 was going down, but we wouldn't know if it was his F-4. So, seeing the F-4 Phantom, in case anybody wants to know what it is, I mean, it's a nice plane, goes fast. Anyway, but we wouldn't know. So that was like on the merge, I bet, what you're talking about. Beforehand, we didn't know. Then we started knowing, but we didn't know what they know now when everybody's in Afghanistan and they give the troops access to communication to come back almost immediately.
Yeah, or the Afghanis take out their cell phone and film what's happening, and it gets on Twitter, right?
Right. Yes.
And so we don't. I don't think anyone really has a grasp of how this should work or the best place for it to work. But if you want the information, it's there. And China, I think, understands this better than most. And China understands the scariest thing to China is not nuclear bombs. It's not the U.S. landing on the beaches and storming.
Right.
It's words. It's words.
What do you mean by words?
To your point earlier about the protest, they don't want people
Oh,
talking.
yes.
They don't want
Got
people
it.
talking
Yeah.
because you can't control what's in the head, right? If I start thinking that,
Yep.
I don't really like this government, you can't. How do you know what I'm thinking? But if I start saying it and someone else goes, "Oh yeah, that's a good point you
Wow.
made." So when they crack down on protests, they're cracking down on ideas, thoughts, words getting out. The way to beat, and I don't like using this term, but the way to beat the Chinese is just by talking. Just by
Right.
talking, not being, not to be rude, not to be ugly, just by talking. They don't like that. That's what they're afraid of. That's why they censor their people. That's why North Korea doesn't open up, because they don't want anyone to think what they don't want them to think. That's how you. So they tell you how to beat them, which is by talking. Now it's hard. It's not an easy task, but it's not the weapons and the bullets that scare the Chinese government.
So I'm going to do a parallel with Facebook, Twitter censoring folks here.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. I mean, think about it. I mean,
yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, in our own country, we're talking about, well, we don't want, whenever you come on the COVID issue, we don't want misinformation out there. Well, who determines what misinformation is and isn't?
Right.
I mean, if you follow the history of our belief about how we orbit the sun, there's been a lot of theories, and there still are new theories that are coming out there. So at any point in time, you could have come and said, this is the way that we orbit the sun, and this is why.
Right.
Only to find out 4 years later that, or 10 years later, 100 years later, well, that wasn't exactly right. So was it misinformation back then or not, if you questioned it? And so it's very similar.
Right. Did that ship actually fall off the edge of the earth, or did a monster eat it? There was no phone to film that as it went off the edge of the earth.
Right.
I think that, yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, so I think the difference between the U.S. and China is that China is they have a strategic advantage, right? So they want to keep these conversations isolated in small pockets, something they can kind of monitor and contain. And they're not built on a freedom of free speech society. So they're trying to keep it down. Our society is built on a free speech society, and they've seen that it can go awry, right? It can go awry. Right. That's factually true. It can go awry. Just because you say the right thing doesn't mean people will believe you. So it can go awry. But you're seeing kind of these two contrasts where we have this pretty much we have constitutionally free speech. Now we're debating what can you say on these platforms and whatnot. Where China's going, okay, we don't want to get to that point, right? Because
we don't have the platform.
Right, we don't have the platform. I suspect, in all honesty, if you opened up Twitter tomorrow on the CCP, you would have a large portion of people coming out criticizing the CCP, but you'd have an even larger portion love the CCP. What they don't want is those two groups talking, right?
Right.
That's what they don't want. But there's plenty of people who love the CCP in China. So it's kind of a misnomer that some of us perpetuate. Well, they just ready they want to be like Texas, baby. They want to frack a well. They're ready. Get her done. That's not that dog ain't hunting over there.
Or have a desk that takes out ERCOT.
Well, they have their own power issues, to your point. Yes.
Boy, that's a whole nother animal. Maybe we can tackle that on the next one. But that one that you talked about is the demographic dividend. I mean, that is something that's really critical. France had that same kind of issue, and they were paying natural citizens to have kids.
Yes.
So that's not going to work. And I don't think, and I thought it was kind of funny that they also referred to it as the demographic drag.
Yeah. Right.
As you go from, it's not positive, it's now a drag on the whole thing, and you nailed it with the CCP.
There's a great book, What to Expect When No One's Expecting. What to Expect When No One's Expecting.
Okay. So who's the author?
Jonathan Vast. I'm trying to think of his. I'll pull it up while you're talking here, but yeah, it's a fantastic book that you might, for your listeners who want to, because you will see people talk. Well, we need less humans. Yeah. Okay. Good luck with that. Because less humans means costs go up unless you somehow bridge the technology gap.
Right. I know people are tired of me saying this, but I'm all about the disproportionately impacted community and the poor people and the lesser fortunate that always get it in the drive-through. And it seems like policies are never made. They're made in in the upper echelon, and they always impact people the wrong way down here. So it just seems like, anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Jonathan Last is his name.
Jonathan Last.
When no one's
okay.
It's a great book. It talks mainly about European stuff, but it does talk about China as well, and the U.S.
Oh, cool. How did you get so smart on China?
I'm not smart on China. Well, I mean, so if you take my whole argument I made about China and the about the their fear, it's just a general thesis I have on totalitarian governments, right? So I made the same argument for China, I made it for North Korea, and I made it for Saudi Arabia. We just focused on China, right? Because I generally think that we overemphasize in the West. Well, that's Chinese culture, that's a North Korean culture. There are cultural differences, to be sure, but I think we overemphasize those differences when it comes to just practical human decisions. And so, people in power want to stay in power,
right?
And that's why our politicians lie to us every day, because they want to stay in power, right?
Absolutely. I think you and Dr. Energy, Dr. Ellen, talked about that with Saudi Aramco, with their having to guarantee that they're paying the state their dividend.
Yeah.
And because they got to keep them happy.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going into debt to pay their dividend. Sure. I think that was right.
Yes, I think that sounds right. But yes, yes. So if you just apply this principle, people in power want to stay in power. And then you take it to Russia, okay? You take it to Putin. Well, what does that mean to Putin? Does that mean that Putin wants a hot war with the U.S.? No, because what's going to happen? He's going to lose, and he might be either killed in the war or get the Saddam Hussein kind of court. He might be overthrown by his own people. He does not want a hot war with the U.S. It's not even a debate. It's over for him.
Right.
So unless he really goes off the rocker. And even then, the people around him are like, bro, we're all going to die. We don't want to deal with this. So when you work through that lens, that's just how I apply it. I think I said this on the first show. I made fun of me. I said, philosophical principles, I think is what I said, something like that. And that's just how I try to think about things. And so it doesn't mean you're always right. It just means that it's much easier to try to think about how humans work, and then try to work those principles in different scenarios, than try to think about, the Chinese culture. And I'm not trying to diminish the Chinese culture, but trying to understand all that, because there's certain things that they do that's different than us. And so anyways, I'll stop there.
Oh, no, I think that you were dead on right, Ryan. And I hate to give you a compliment, but it was Putin just won a few chess matches against the administration and against with Germany and everything else. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline just came on. The Nord Stream 2 second piece of the pipeline is going to come on shortly. They're pumping gas right on through, and it's going to go to Germany. So Germany is going back to being hostage on Russia. Russia can then set the tone for gas. Gas prices are going to go up. Russia's GDP is 30 to 35% energy export. Guess what they're doing right now? They're in negotiation to put a pipeline into China. Go figure that one out. I'm like, wow, man, that's a lot of gas. So anyway, what's coming around the corner for Ryan Ray? You got any speaking engagements as you get ready for your presidential run in 2024?
People pay me to shut up, not to speak. So I do have on the War on Small Business. Carol Roth is coming on Inside the War Room.
No way.
Yeah, getting ready to record that here in a couple hours. So that would be out.
Fantastic.
When did this podcast come out?
This one we're probably going to have out Thursday or Friday.
So by the time this podcast comes out, Carol will be on, and then
can you flash the book up again, just in case somebody is? You actually read, the War on Small Business.
Yeah.
How the government uses the pandemic to crush the backbone of America. Holy smokes!
Yeah.
That ought to be a really good listen. When is it coming out?
It will be out by the time this is out. So we record today, so either tomorrow, but you said this out Thursday, so this will be out by then. So by the time,
fantastic.
So that and a couple other guests. So we're excited about
I'm going to have to beat you to put this out.
Well, make me look bad.
No, make you look good. It'll be a teaser for your book.
So.
But Ryan, that is absolutely fantastic. And I just really, truly enjoy following you and having some serious fun as a podcaster with you. So thank you for coming by. And you're brilliant on the China stuff. So I do appreciate
you for having me, and thank you for letting me steal all your content. So ideas.
I absolutely appreciate your time, Ryan, and I know both of our listeners will enjoy it.
Hey, thank you for the two of you out there. From the bottom of Stu, my heart, we really appreciate it that you've suffered through this along with the both of us. I know you're here for Stu and you tolerate me, but I really appreciate it.
Well, we're going to make sure that this is on our app, which is on the Play Store, as well as on the Google Android as well, too. So, or the whatever. They're on both of them. There you go. There's the.
There it is.
Ryan, you don't read the app very often. Look at all those new updates in there. That means you have not opened those.
Busted. Got me. I thought I was doing good. I
love it. So anytime anybody opens our app, a new item comes up there.
You'll never see it again. Now you should have told me. Never again will you see those news on there. Never again.
Oh, I'm going to put on there, Ryan Ray, take a look at this.
Well, you put out so much content, Stu. It's hard for me to keep up.
Oh, no. You got a lot to steal. Thank you again, Ryan, and we will see you next month.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks.